Hi guys, Mike Vecchione. Another episode, Mike Vecchione Investigates. Thanks for coming. First of all, I want to talk about the Riyadh Comedy Festival. A lot of my friends, dear friends, have gone over to perform in Saudi Arabia. They're getting a lot of backlash now. These are people I truly love and are some of the most talented people on the planet, and they're getting backlash for performing in Saudi Arabia, a country with human rights violations, don't treat women that well, not very good to journalists. So they're receiving backlash for going over there. And I understand how people would think that this is hypocrisy. I support my friends who went over there to perform because I don't think you guys understand stand-up comedy. When you first start out, you're getting paid no money for a long time. You have to have a regular job and then go out and do stand-up comedy at night in order to pursue your dream. So these guys have paid the price. They've done a lot. And I know a lot of people are saying they don't need the money anymore. So they already have a lot of money. But you never know when you're going to need more money. And you're saying this and you work at a Planet Fitness. So these people, comedians, have the right to make money. Do I think they're heroes for going up there and opening the doorway to free speech? No, I don't. Do I think they're villains for taking the gig? No, I don't. I think they're capitalists. So I think they saw the gig, they saw the money, and they took it. And really no other field has gotten backlash for going over there. I'm a big boxing fan, and boxing, Turkey Al Sheikh has opened the door to boxing over there, and they've done multiple boxing events over there, and no one even mentions this. It's only mentioned in stand-up comedy, which I understand there's a free speech issue there, but boxing, this isn't even brought up once. And golf, I don't follow golf that much, but it doesn't seem to be a thing with golf. So why would stand-up comedy be any different? We're people who want to make money also. We went through a lot of years of not making money, and the comics who got the gig deserve the money. Now, I did not get asked to go over there. I'm not big enough of a name to go over there, but that's okay. I'm a worker. I'm going to work on my act, and maybe next year, North Korea will have a comedy festival, or maybe Iran, and I can send my tape in for any of those. So the Riyadh Comedy Festival, I understand why people would think that comedians shouldn't do it, but I support my people, stand-up comedians, to go over there and get the bag, as the kids are saying, get the bag of money. Because they've sacrificed. That's my take on it. Feel free to disagree in the comments. In other news, Bad Bunny is performing at the Super Bowl, and there seems to be some backlash on that. Bad Bunny I didn't know about, but he is a Puerto Rican singer, and I think the NFL is doing this to expand their brand. The NFL keeps trying to push into South America and wants to extend. They want that Latino fan base. And first of all, trying to get a soccer culture over to football is very difficult. And that's all South America and Mexico. They call it football, and they're actually correct in calling it football. What we're doing is not football. What we're doing, we should call our sport concussions, because we're just running into people. And I love football, and I wouldn't change it except for safety. But I love football. But it is concussions. That's what we should call our sport. Their sport should be called football. That makes more sense. But trying to get the Latino fan base is very hard because they don't have many people in the league because of their smaller stature. Latinos are traditionally smaller than American whites and blacks and even Polynesians, who are all in the league. But there's not many Latinos in the league. They're very tough. They're in multiple other sports, but because they're smaller in stature, they're not represented in the sport. So it's very hard to get that, but the NFL, being the corporation that it is going to try to get that fan base, and they're using Bad Bunny to do this. Now, Bad Bunny has complained that he's not going to do any American concerts here, like one city I think he's going to do, but I don't think he's going to do any other American cities because he's afraid that ICE will show up and arrest his fan base. And that would be a good strategy by ICE, actually, if they did show up and arrest his fan base. That would be a good offensive strategy for ICE to do that. But the last time I checked, Puerto Rico is an American territory, so Puerto Ricans have nothing to worry about. You will not be arrested because you're American. You're in American territory. So I wonder if Bad Bunny, that's his name on his driver's license, because if the cops pull him over, it's a good excuse for speeding. Look, it says I'm a bunny, which is very fast, and I'm bad, so I'm gonna speed. Bad Bunny. Bad Bunny, having the name Bad Bunny is a good argument to get out of any speeding ticket. I support Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl. I think it's fine. I don't see any reason for the backlash on it. I did look into him, and he claims to be straight, but very supportive of the LGBTQ community, which is good. But then he did a thing at the Video Music Awards where he kissed a backup dancer. Now, I said to myself, he's straight, but he's kissing a backup dancer. Maybe he's Italian, because Italians kiss on the mouth. But it turns out he claims that he's straight, but he says in the future, who knows? And that sounds less like sexual orientation and more like pandering. It sounds like you're pandering to the LGBTQ community, which is a great community to have on your side if you're in show business. See Madonna, see Lady Gaga. Very powerful, great fan base to have on your side. But instead of just saying, I support the LGBTQ community, he has to make a gesture and make all of these vague statements to make it seem like he may be gay in the future, but he's not gay now, which I think is just a form of pandering to that fan base. So, Bad Bunny, you're famous enough, and just get the fan base that authentically comes to you. There's no need to force this marketing. You could just say that you're supportive of the LGBTQ community. And this coming from a man who will bake a cake for a gay couple who's getting married. If I had a bakery, I mean, I don't have a bakery, but if I had a bakery, I would bake a cake for a gay couple that was getting married. And I would do that. That seems to be a thing with bakeries refusing to bake cakes. I would be more worried about the carbs that the gay couple was taking in, the amount of sugar in the cake. So Bad Bunny, just perform at the Super Bowl, no backlash here, just be a little bit more authentic. In other news, Selena Gomez has not invited her kidney donor to her wedding. I'll say it again. Selena Gomez has not invited her kidney donor to her wedding. Listen, Selena, when someone gives you a kidney, you invite them to your wedding, you make them maid of honor. Even if you don't make them maid of honor, you put them in the wedding party. Even if you don't put them in the wedding party, you put them in the back somewhere. You send them an invitation, you don't expect a gift, because guess what? They already got you a gift, and that's their kidney. The fact that you didn't invite your kidney donor to your wedding says that you are confident that you're not going to need another organ in the future. That woman is obviously a match for you, and you might need a pancreas in a year or a liver in 5 years. And guess who's not going to be there for you because you didn't invite them to your wedding? Your donor. Your donor. And sometimes your donor probably wants to call you and check in. How's my kidney doing? Because it's my kidney that I gave you. And the donor has come out and said that they were in touch before when the transplant happened, but now they've kind of fell out of touch. You don't fall out of touch with your kidney donor. You always take her call, okay, Selena? She calls you, she says, how's my kidney doing? Because remember, before she donated the kidney, you couldn't clean your own blood, but now you can. Return her phone call, Selena, okay? Return it. God, Selena's pretty thoughtless that way. So hopefully Selena gets on the right track. In other news, PDiddy got 4 years in prison in his sex trafficking case. Actually, it was a prostitution case. Sex trafficking was dropped, the RICO charges were dropped, and the prosecutor still wanted 11 years for prostitution. Now, I don't think P. Diddy is a good guy at all, like everybody else. I share that opinion that he's not a good guy, but the prosecutors were asking for 11 years, and his defense team was asking for house arrest, which I think is hilarious. If you're a billionaire and you get house arrest, you're just living in a mansion, which doesn't seem to be punishment for most of us. But he got 4 years, and 4 years seems, I thought he was gonna get really hit because of the lower charge. So they do to the mob guys all the time. They hit him with gambling charges, but they give him the high end of it, which is like 14 years or whatever. So, but I guess the sentencing guidelines were strict. They overcharged him, clearly. They overcharged him with human trafficking, which they couldn't get a conviction on. And they overcharged him on racketeering, and they couldn't get a conviction on that either. So the most serious charges carried life in prison, and he was acquitted of both of them. So all of that work, they got him for 4 years, which seems crazy. They overcharged him. And the reason they overcharged him is because when you have a high profile case like this, the prosecutors make their career off of it. So if you convict a guy like this, you get political positions, or if you go to the other side, you get a high-paying defense attorney job somewhere. So it can really pay off for you if you convict. But these guys didn't convict. They obviously overcharged him, and as a result, he got 4 years. But one thing we know, that he will not be performing at the Super Bowl because he will be in prison. He might be performing for the Super Bowl in prison. Who knows? In other news, Mark Sanchez was stabbed over the weekend. Turns out that Sanchez was, we didn't know much about this story, and everybody was sending their well wishes to Sanchez that he has a speedy recovery, and you hope he does have a speedy recovery regardless of the circumstances of the case. But it turns out Mark Sanchez stabbed. It sounded like he was the victim, but it turns out he was the aggressor. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse for the Jets, even their retired players are losing. And it seems like what happened was he was intoxicated, drunk, doing wind sprints in the alley behind the bar for some reason. And a truck driver was parked in an alley. He didn't like him there, wanted him to move. It was a parking dispute, and he attacked the truck driver. Now, I know that Mark Sanchez is a former football player, and I know the truck driver was 67 years old, and you should never attack an elderly. At least that's the way I was brought up. But if I was gonna pick a profession to attack, it wouldn't be truck driver. Truck drivers seem like rough guys where anything could happen, even if they're 67 years old. So this guy stabbed Sanchez. Now, when I heard that Sanchez was stabbed initially, I thought, this is ICE. This is ICE overstepping, but it's not. It's a trucker, a 67-year-old trucker that Mark Sanchez attacked because he didn't like the way he was parked. And the truck driver, by all accounts, defended himself. So fortunately, no one was killed, but Indianapolis is a rough city. My wife is from there, and we were there over the 4th of July, and 7 people were shot over the 4th of July, and now a stabbing in Indianapolis. But the Jets are 0-4. Mark Sanchez is stabbed. It doesn't look good. So get better, Sanchez. Make better decisions. I gotta imagine there's gonna be a civil lawsuit now, and he will not be able to keep his job with Fox, which hopefully he can, because I don't like to see anybody lose their job over anything that's not related to their job. So hopefully Sanchez will recover. Hopefully the Jets will recover, and That's Mike Vecchione Investigates. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave your comments, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.